Warning. This episode contains adult language and adult humor.
Since when have trumpet players ever been considered adults?
If you are easily offended by these types of conversations, consider switching to the oboe. Welcome to the Trumpet Guru Sang podcast. I'm your host, Jose Johnson. My guests for this episode are Kenny Robinson and Richard Mukamal. Kenny is a world-class trumpet player who toured with Maynard Ferguson and whose career was almost cut short by chronic cold sores. Richard is a trumpet and euphonium player and is also a mover and shaker in the world of the arts and education. Together, they formed the dynamic duo behind Robinson and Remedies, a growing company that has developed a number of natural products that help brass players around the world keep their chops feeling repaired and renewed. So pour yourself a big glass, pull up a chair, and let the hang begin. All right, welcome to this episode of the Trumpet Gurus Hang, and this week I am joined by two of my good friends and the founders of Robinson's Remedies. We've got Mr. Kenny Robinson. What's up, Kenny?
Hey.
And we have his partner in crime, Mr. Richard Mukamal. So
who is indeed the CEO?
He's the CEO.
Yep, and I'm the founder and president.
Yes, okay.
I'm the
legal name.
Legal name. I thought that we were going to be, I was going to say we were going to have the brains and the beauty behind Robinson's Remedies plus Kenny. So that's
right. Kenny right here. Kenny right here has his nice COVID belly. Anyways.
Yeah, we don't have the high def for that. So anyway, it's good to see you guys, man. It's been such a long time.
I'm telling you.
I know it.
We missed
probably a couple of years, Jose. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been since we saw each other like in person. It's been a couple of years. I mean, we've talked on the phone and emailed and stuff like that. But it's been a bit, man. It's nuts. So I mean, what's new in you guys' world?
Well, we're sitting at home doing our, like most musicians are. And, musicians, the whole entertainment industry and like a lot of the gig worker industry has been turned upside down from what's going on. However, it's allowed us to do things that we've always say we're going to get around to, but we never do it.
Yeah.
Like setting up my recording studio. I'm actually gonna make a record virtually online because I play in a symphony orchestra called the International Symphony Orchestra, and some of the people in the orchestra, some of the wind players, I've been in their principal trumpet for over 25 years, and what we've been doing is that some of the people use Robinson's Remedies, some of the wind players,
right?
And now I can't cross the border because it's a Canadian and U.S. orchestra.
Okay,
see?
Yeah.
So what I'm doing, I've been talking to the executive director, the new executive director. The last gig I did with them was February 24th, and they threw this John Williams movie score trumpet concerto at me, and during the rehearsal I was playing these first trumpet parts, and I'm thinking, and they were going, look it over because it's tough, and I'm thinking it's not that tough, so I'm playing the parts and they're going, where are all these parts? And it turned out it was a concerto for trumpet when I was supposed to be up front, and I was playing the orchestral first trumpet part because they didn't have the part. So I took the conductor's score at home and transcribed the whole thing and learned it. So my first run through was the dress rehearsal.
Oh my God.
And it was, I got a video of it. I'll share it with you sometime.
Yeah.
But what I've been doing is setting up this recording studio so that I can record a virtual orchestra record and mix it in Logic Pro and do it one.
You've been doing more than that, Kenny.
Oh, I know. I have been doing more than that. I'm just telling you what I'm doing.
That's the latest thing you've been working on.
Right.
But you've also had to learn Final Cut, right?
Oh yes.
I was
going to get to that. I'm going to get to that.
Well,
and Logic Pro is the latest thing I started on, but I've become a Final Cut Pro expert. Because if you go, and I've been, getting our Robinson's Remedies YouTube channel going. So check it out, go check it out on YouTube. And what we want to do is we want to get our endorsers involved. Mm-hmm. And I've been talking to endorsers. One endorser, a beloved endorser, Paul Barron, did some. He's doing a set of videos, volume 1, 2, and 3, and the first video is up, and it's all about warming up and maintenance on the road. Yeah, because he was on Aladdin for a couple years, 2 or 3 years, and now he went over to Frozen, but they're in limbo right now. Nobody has a gig.
Frozen is frozen.
Right. And so I become a Final Cut Pro expert, and please, any of our endorsers that want to watch this, that want to get involved, make a video and make it. Don't be afraid to make it too long, because I can cut it and mix it in Final Cut Pro, and I can mix the audio and give some lessons. Let's do that. Let's all stick together, because that's the only way we're going to get through all this.
It was actually one of the things that we talked about early on with the business, was wanting to create a community and wanting to support our endorsers. So we didn't just want to, have them endorse us, but we wanted to have a relationship with them and to support one another, and grow awareness of not only of our business, but of our endorsers that way.
Right. So, and I think this is a good opportunity.
Right. Now that things are shut down, we can't perform, or you can't perform. I'm not a professional musician. I'm, just an enthusiastic amateur. And
but you're a great baritone player. Euphonium player.
I don't know about how great I am, but I try.
Isn't it an oxymoron? A great euphonium.
Hey! I used to play trumpet, and then Then I realized I came to the dark side.
Well, we can discuss that. We can tell about the company, how we met, and everything.
Yeah, and that's actually that's actually one of the things I want to certainly get to here in a second. But
so that was one of the things, Jose, is we wanted to create a sense of community.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's important, and we're seeing that a lot more just in the business world in general. That it's that need for community connection, a little bit more of a altruistic approach to business, as opposed to a purely commercial kind of consumerism sort of thing. And I really, that's one of the things that I loved about what you guys were doing, even for the very beginning, before I kind of got the backstory on stuff. And I just got the definite vibe that you guys were looking at a much bigger picture than here's a product, let's sell it. So I really have to commend you guys on doing that and trying to build a community. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the product, you're going to certainly hear a lot more about the product in a couple of minutes. But it's like one of the things that really impressed me was it was just like right after COVID hit, maybe it's less than a month or so, getting an email from you guys, just like, hey, checking in on you, making sure everybody, and it was like, to all of your endorsers. I mean, but it was just the fact that you're reaching out to people and saying, hey, we know that you're probably having a tough time, because we are too, and we're a family. So I appreciate that from you guys. So so let's go ahead and get into that process of like, how did you guys get started? How did here's the first question. Kenny, did you come up with this product, or the idea of launching this company before you met Richard, or was this somewhat of a joint venture from the very beginning?
Ready?
Kenny, it's all yours.
Okay. Well, here we go. All right. This is how the company started. I was on the road with Maynard Ferguson and everything else, and I'll make a long story shorter. I didn't say short. I said shorter.
Shorter, yeah.
So what it is I'm a lifelong cold sore sufferer. Okay, and to a trumpet player, that is a curse. All right. So I was actually going to quit playing trumpet after I got off the road with Maynard. In fact, there's a story I always tell to people, and I should tell it to the trumpet community. I was on the road with Maynard, and I developed a cold sore, a bad one. Okay. And you can't play with cold sores. I mean, you can if they're over here or, over here or over here, but you get them, you can get them anywhere.
Right.
And they're brought on by stress and there's different triggers that bring them on for different people. Like orange juice and citrus brings them on for me because it's acidic,
Right.
Anyways. So I'm on the road with Maynard and I developed this cold sore after a gig, so we have a couple days off and I'm just starting to panic in my hotel room, and I'm watching Star Wars movies. I remember that. So we get to do a gig, and we get backstage, and about an hour before the gig, Reggie Watkins lives in Pennsylvania, lives in Pittsburgh. He was the music director at the time. He's one of our endorsers. Great trombone player. Took me in to Maynard's room to show him my chops, and Maynard says, "Oh my God," he looks at my chops like this and he goes, "Oh my God." Well, if you can't play, you stand up there and smile with us. That's what he said. And you know what? I played. And I barely finished the gig.
Yeah.
But at the end of the gig, Maynard says to me, "Well, you played the gig. How did you do it?" And I said, I just kept moving the mouthpiece around like this the whole gig, and he goes, "Well, I don't know how you can play like that, but you sound great." You know what that did for me was that made me, after his death, I miss him very much. And everybody that has been on the road with him or knew him just loved him because he was just the kind of positive guy. He made me think, he had it up here. It's all in your mind. Right. Don't quit. So I was actually going to quit, so I actually was going to sell my trumpets and say, I don't have anything to prove. I've been on the road with Maynard. I've had some lessons with Maurice Andre and Bud Herseth. I was making my last record, a record called "Let the Trumpet Sound," and it was and it had a tribute to Maynard on it. So I thought about this way, and I was getting cold sores. I got a really bad episode. I said, there's got to be a better way. So I searched the internet, and I met a guy named Stephen Folks, who's a research scientist that wrote a book about it, about how to wipe out herpes, because that's what it is. It's herpes simplex 1, and people that I don't have herpes, they're just fever blisters. That's denial.
Right.
Okay? It is. And I used to be like that too. And when you get one, you look in the mirror and you're like, when's it going away? When's it going away? Every 5 minutes you're looking in the mirror and you go to the drugstore, So I said, there's got to be a way so I started mixing different ingredients in my kitchen. And I made this little jar that you get at like a Target or something, like a little Blistex jar, except it's clear. Right. And had all these ingredients mixed in. And I used to put it on my lips all the time. And my God, it worked. So I used to carry it around with me. So I was talking to Betty, who's our art director, Betty Evans, and who's now, part of the company and our art director. And she says, "Let me try it." So I gave it to her and she put it on. She goes, "Oh, this is awful." Because it just tastes terrible, Right. So I was with some colleagues. I was actually at a conference with Jerry Callett, just because I love the guy. He's known me since I was a kid. I miss him dearly. And I was sitting at the bar drinking with Terry Warburton. And I was telling him about this. And I didn't have to quit playing trumpet because of this little jar of cream I used to just carry around in my case, And he goes, you should get it on the market. Terry Warburton was one of the first guys to tell me that.
Yeah.
And he goes, so he introduced me to some people, and I got around and I met a chemist named Amanda Vickers, and she said, it does taste like, you know.
You can say it.
Like shit. It tastes like shit.
You can say it. This
is PG-13 or
this is not PG. This is
right.
Tasting like shit.
Yeah.
That's right. So what happened is so
it's HBO.
I meet Amanda Vickers, but I said I want it to be my formula, Amanda. And I said I sent her this book, and I said, if you don't want to read this book, then I don't want you. You know, basically. You know, I said, and she read the book, and she said, no, this is a great book. And it's called Wipe Out Herpes with BHT. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. Okay. And she read it, and she said, he makes some really good sense. She said, I think I can make it better. And I said, go for it. And she did. Oh. And it was incredible. And it's our first product. It's called Lip Repair for cold sores.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was the first generation product. Okay.
Right.
And so I went to a trumpet guild. And then I met Richard. This is how I met Richard. He comes over for a repair. He was taking lessons from a guy that I went to college with, and he came over because his second valve got his second valve crook got smashed in. And I've been a repairman for a long time, so he comes over, and I take it out, and I buff it out, and I have to replate it and everything, and then we get to talking, and he decides to take a trumpet lesson from me. Do you want to inject anything, Richard?
Sure. No, so Kenny gives me his trumpet lesson, and it was very clear from that lesson that really I had progressed about as far as I could with the other teacher that I had, who was terrific. But Kenny was able to teach me enough in one lesson that it improved my playing, more than 6 months with the other teacher. Mm-hmm. So I just said, okay. So I started getting lessons from Kenny. At the time, I was playing trumpet. And, I saw him mixing this stuff in his kitchen and all that. And I said, hey, he told me about it. And I said, well, I have some experience in this business, in the over-the-counter type business. Mm-hmm. But he had, at that time, had gotten some other people that he had spoken to become his partners. There were 3 others who we now affectionately call the Three Stooges. And make a long story short, what was happening is that they didn't really know what they were doing. And so they would have meetings, and the meetings would last 3-4 hours, and they really weren't getting anywhere. And Kenny would be calling me every day, and he'd be so frustrated. And I mean, he was ready to just, give up. And they, I think they were kind of trying to take control of it from him.
And they wouldn't listen to me.
They wouldn't listen. They thought they knew better. They really didn't. And so finally, I think it was like 2015, Kenny, they, in the fall, and we just said, you know what?
Let's get rid of
Here's what we're going to do is, you know what? I'll buy them out. I'll invest in this. I have expertise, and let's do our own thing. And in the meantime, what I was doing is I was sort of saying to him, hey, I don't get cold sores, but I'd really like something to help with endurance. And I found out that there were a couple other friends of his that were doing the same thing, I think, including Walter White, who was one of the early people, Kenny, to try lip repair, right? And but anyway, what happened? So this was all happening like 2015. So Kenny was talking about going to this ITG. I think it was in Columbus.
Yeah,
and I just said, I wasn't involved in the company, but I figured I'll go anyway, right?
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. And just help the guy out.
Right.
So we went there, and we were, talking about the product, and it was lip repair. That's all we had. We sold about 35 tubes, but most of the people that were buying it liked it because it had arnica in it, and it was helping with swelling. Right. So, it was clear that people were looking for another solution.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So what ended up happening is we ended up, as 2015 wound down, where I lent the company money and bought them out. So Kenny was able to buy them out. And so I got involved in January of 2016 with the company. And it was at that point where it was, okay, what we're going to do is we're actually going to pivot, and we're going to create another product.
Mm-hmm. Everybody wanted me to do this. Everybody was saying, everybody was saying, I was saying at that conference, bless Richard's heart he took me there in his motorhome, because we didn't have a hotel room to stay in.
Right.
And he sat at the table with me instead of the guy that was supposed to be the CEO, didn't even show up until the last day. And I sat there, and Richard helped me, and I could tell that he really knew what he was doing. Right. And this is my real partner that I wanted. Mm-hmm. And actually, before I was supposed to get Walter White involved, and those other guys said, "Oh yeah, we'll get him involved." And then they shut him out. They said, "No, we're not going to get him involved."
And they shut out Betty to a large extent as well. And,
that's right.
Betty's is just incredible. She's not only really talented, but she's really smart.
That's right.
And really has some very good insights. So she's been a great asset. Mm-hmm. But what happened?
She designed this.
Yeah. That's all. It's all Betty. All the artwork is Betty, and the logos, everything. So anyway, January rolls around 2016, and we just go on a crash course. And the idea was to try to replicate what Kenny had done for lip repair. So the Kenny story is, had a problem, spent time researching it, went to a professional to fine tune it and really create it. What we then did actually is we actually gave samples of the product to Walter and a couple other people that were in East Lansing at the time, and they were doing a Broadway show.
I was there too.
Oh, were you at it? That's right. So there were a few.
Motown the Musical.
Motown Musical.
It's it's really tough. It's a real long blow.
Yeah, that's got a book.
Yeah,
right.
It sure does.
So we wanted to test it, so we did, and they loved it. They just loved it. Yep. So that's how we got started. So, in my incarnation with the company, it really started with Lip Renew.
Right.
As the cream.
Yeah.
We called it Lip. We thought of the name. It was actually Walter that came up with
Walter's idea.
Walter's idea. Lip Renew, revive, refresh, renew. That's our slogan. If you look on the tube somewhere. Yeah. So because when we were at that one conference. Before Richard really joined the company, everybody was going, "We just like it because it keeps our swelling down, Kenny. Why don't you invent something for us?"
Yeah.
But they kept saying, I said, "You know what? Let's do it."
Yeah.
That's what we did. So I researched, endurance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's a great story. Obviously, you guys are moving forward, but. Yeah, there's a huge lesson to be learned from that, even especially as we're dealing with the situation now, the COVID situation, where I think a lot of people are running into problems because they get so stuck into a singular concept of what their business was. And there's no thought of, well, what am I going to do next, or how am I going to improve on this, or how can I reach a new market? So, I think that level of foresight and that level of like a grander vision of what you want to do, I think that's going to, that's a lesson I think more people need to learn, because that's the only way any of us are going to survive is by the ability to evolve and adapt.
Right. Yep. We have to reinvent ourselves for right now.
Yeah. So I have to say, this is I am not getting paid for this directly. I will be waiting for my check to show up in the mail. But when I first tried Lip Renew or Lip Repair, that was the same thing. I don't have any problems with cold sores, but I felt like my chops were just not as swollen, and my wife, who's my wife's a nurse, and she's very much into like naturopathic stuff, and has had problems with cold sores, and she tried it, and she was like, this is the shit right here.
Wow.
And so we were
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we were on board, but then the Lip Renew, especially, that was that was really, really beneficial. I mean, I do not do a gig without at least like a tube. There's got to be a tube in my case and a tube in my pocket. So I make sure I check, horn, mouthpiece, lip renew, and then I can do the gig. So, I mean, that's a huge service. And, I know that Kenny, you and I had talked about. Well, Richard, you were there too, because I think it was at NTC in Colorado.
Oh yes,
if my memory serves me properly. But we were talking about like you guys having even grander visions of things that you want to do and where you want to move on to. So you had lip repair, you had lip renew. You've got the Robinson's Remedy community that you're building. What do you see the next phase as being?
Well, what we did, so we developed Lip Renew, the cream. And what we found is that, in reality, 95% of lip balms that are sold are sticks.
Mm-hmm. Like
right?
A wax.
So, right. So, we knew that at some point we needed to have a stick product. The problem with the stick products is that they're primarily wax,
mm-hmm.
and wax is a barrier, right? Good wine is sealed in wax. A cheese is sealed in wax. It's a sealant, and
you can even put Carnauba wax on your car.
Put it on your car, and
or wax your boat,
car, right? That's right. So the thing is that we wanted products. The thing about Lip Renew, number one, it works. Number two, it's based on what's in it. It's the ingredients that really make our product special. So they penetrate. Mm-hmm. And if we had a product made of wax, it's not going to penetrate. So it's not going to do any good. So what we had to do is we actually had to create a stick without wax in it, which we did.
Mm-hmm.
And we call it Lip Renew Recovery. So we wanted people to understand that, while you're playing, here's a product that'll absorb instantly. But when you're not playing, here's a stick product that you can use. And by the way, it moisturizes, has all the feel of a stick. It does everything that Lip Renew does, but it's in a long-acting wax-free version.
This is my girl.
So, the thing is, it's expensive to develop these products and it's very time consuming, but we did it.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at now is we're looking at a number of things. So we were developing a moisturizing lip balm,
mm-hmm.
stick version, wax free. So we were working on that. And what we thought was down the road, we would have a skin version of these three products. So we would have a skin version of lip repair, an antiviral
mm-hmm.
Skin cream. We would have a muscle renew, a cream, something you could put on your legs or, because athletes, endurance
right.
athletes, which, mm-hmm. as Kenny said, is what we're studying
right.
to develop the product, and a moisturizing skin cream as well. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that the Robinson's Remedies community would help spread the word. Mm-hmm. So we would start as with our core of people based on Kenny's network, which is with musicians, primarily trumpet, but mm-hmm. that as we grow as a company, we would offer products to the general public, but use that community of people to help spread the word. So that's right. our strategy.
Yeah. So viral marketing of our antiviral products.
Right. And this is, a little prototype of one of our products, and mm-hmm. this is a prototype of one of the others. This is actually the antiviral skin cream, which we started putting to the fore because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And we just sort of thought, there are a lot of people like your wife, who's a nurse. They're in the hospital all the time. They're washing their hands getting dried out. What would you think of a really good natural skin cream that, by the way, had a whole bunch of antiviral ingredients in it?
Yeah,
and antibacterial ingredients.
Yeah,
and antibacterial.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. Yeah, that's good. So, you guys have the YouTube channel. So you're getting some, trying to do some things to get some traction with providing some educational content. So, like, where do you see that going? Like, what's the end game for that?
Well, it's kind of just started, basically, and we want to help our endorsers, basically, with the YouTube channel. You know, if because everybody's suffering financially from this. You know, all these entertainers. You know, things are not okay. Broadway shut down. There's absolutely no gigs. Every once in a while, you'll see a little, you know, a little band playing somewhere, but you can't go in anywhere and see a band. You know, what are all these freelance musicians going to do? My orchestra season, this next season, is canceled indefinitely. You know, the Detroit Symphony's trying to do some virtual things, but you know, what are they going to do? So I want to make my thing was to maybe make a little money from monetizing the YouTube channel to give back to our endorsers, to help them. You know, if we get enough views, well, you know, if we get enough views to make anything, you know, we'll split it with the endorser that did the video.
I think the concept is that what we would do is to help build our own audience by partnering with our endorsers to have them produce videos that deal with, you know, on a wide range of issues, you know, anything from, you know, the right mouthpiece to use and what you think about this equipment or that equipment, to how to win an audition. What secrets, you know, does Hunter Eberle, for example, who's been tremendously successful as an orchestral trumpeter, to win an audition,
right? In a major symphony orchestra,
right? And so what would happen? What we want to be a go-to place for wind musicians to learn about their craft, to have some interesting videos to watch. And at the same time, what we're doing is we're building awareness of the endorser, the person producing the video, and of Robinson's Remedies. We build that community. You know, I have a saying, and the saying is that life is a team sport. And I believe that. I really do. You know, we can't do things without our team.
That's right.
And so we want to be a different kind of company that way.
That's great. See, I work out of a co-working facility. I'm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and you know, I was working out of my house for a while, and you know, my wife finally one day, I was having trouble getting stuff done, basically.
Right.
But
welcome to the club, right?
But you know, I kept saying to myself, I mean, I had been running a martial arts school for like, you know, 25 years.
That's great.
You know, I had my own place and stuff like that. When I closed my business and was transitioning, pivoting into what I'm doing now, yeah, I'm working out of my house, and my wife is like, you know, I'm thinking to myself, I really need to get an office. But I didn't want to bring it up to my wife because, you know, it was one of those things where, you know, if it came out of my mouth, I probably wouldn't fly. But one day we're taking a walk, and she goes, you know, I really think you need to find a place to work out besides the house, because, you know, I think you just need to work undistracted. And I'm like, hallelujah, thank you, yes. So
hallelujah.
I found this co-working facility, and it's a great place to work out of because, you know, you got people all over the board. You know, you've got tech people, you've got lawyers, accountants, you know, programmers, you name it. We've got people here. But what's happened, and this is why I love this place, is that it's about building community. And this group, this place is called the Candy Factory. We're actually launching a media network of our own.
Wow.
And you know, so the members are going to be able to do shows which will be produced by the management here, the people that own the company, and will be distributed on their network as well as our network. So my personal network will be getting things for the show that I'm going to be doing. But it's that whole idea of understanding that as a collaborative unit, as a community, that if the Candy Factory can help to promote me, then I, in fact, am helping to promote them. So it's a reciprocal relationship.
That's
right. And that the better that I do as a business owner, the better they're going to do as a business. So
there you go.
Yeah, and I think that if more people took that stance, that you would see, and I think actually a lot of companies start that way until the profits start to really creep up,
and then they get greedy.
Yeah, and then they get greedy. Exactly. So don't get greedy, or I'll personally I'll kick your ass.
We're not going to do that. It's just not.
Dude, we're
not
a long
my nature.
way from that. Let me tell you.
Well, but Richard, I actually want to talk to you for a second about this. So Kenny, you can hang out for a while if you want. But you're saying you had the background in the over the counter stuff. I know Kenny has a background in under the counter stuff. There he goes.
I'm just looking at my dog. She's right here. She just got her teeth cleaned yesterday, so I'm just trying to take care of her.
Oh, that's good. But Richard, you also are involved in education, not just like with what you guys are doing with Robinson's Remedy from an educational standpoint for musicians, but you're actually involved in public school administration, and this, especially
public
this time,
school governance. Actually, that's right. I serve on the Farmington Public Schools Board of Education in Farmington Hills, Michigan, and was appointed in January of 2019. So a lot of what I've been doing since the pandemic shutdown, I've been doing a lot of stuff, school board work, actually. It's quite time consuming, but, I'm at an age where I want to, it's time to do what I can to give back. And so this is one of the key ways. I'm a huge supporter of public education, music education.
Started. Why don't you tell them about the nonprofit?
Well, yeah, I mean, I a number of years ago, before Black Lives Matter became a thing, I was kind of, just you sit down and say to yourself, with all the things that are going wrong in society, it's like we know better. We know what to do to help fix things. We just need to do it. So I was in a community band, and the conductor, who's fine, he's a brilliant musical director.
Oh, great.
African-American fellow, Damian Crutcher. And he was doing some stuff in schools with musicians. It was a little on the vague side, but it reminded me of what I learned was the El Sistema movement in Venezuela. Mm-hmm. The after-school intensive music training, and the philosophy of that, of El Sistema, is that intense music training of people who are underserved, underprivileged, people living in poverty, can help transform their lives. That the intensity of and focus that's required to really become excellent at playing an instrument, and the working in an ensemble, and all of the different skills that are involved in that are transformative. So I spoke to Damien about it. It took me 2 years to convince him to do it, and and his brother, and to figure it out, what it was going to look like. And we actually went to a conference in Philadelphia for El Sistema programs. And I ended up leaving that as vice chair of El Sistema USA. And what ended up happening is that we then started a program in an inner city neighborhood of Detroit called Crescendo Detroit. And what we did there is we actually changed the idea somewhat and became more of a real true after school environment for kids. So kids would come in, they would get a snack, they would relax for a few minutes, and then do their homework. And so we were all there to help them, tutor them, do their homework, help them with literacy, maybe read with the little kids, that kind of thing. And then we would go into intensive music and dance and choir. So the kids got instrumental music, music theory to start with. We didn't even have an instrument, so I made a hosophone, and we took the hosophone and we passed it around from kid to kid, and that's how they learned how to play the trumpet. And then we got a donation of an instrument, and so one lucky kid got to play it at a time and pass that around. It was really back to basics. And then what we would do is we would feed them dinner. So what ended up happening is that we would have the kids from after school until after dinner. And part of the concept was to tire them out enough so when they got home, they went to bed.
Yeah, right? There you go.
But in the meantime, what we did is we gave them really what I gave my kids, right? Which was, you get home from school, have a snack, homework help, practice your music, do your thing, and then you can relax.
Do it all over again tomorrow.
Right. So my brother Seth and I actually invested a lot of money, of our money and my time to get it up and running. And so now Damien is running the program with his brother Fred. They're doing great things with it. I'm delighted. It seems to be expanding, and it seems to be very helpful. So I'm very proud of that part.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that all of the research definitely indicates that music has so much power. I mean, there's the healing power, the restorative power of music. There's
what are you going to do without it?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so funny because in this environment right now where so many of us who are performing musicians, either full-time, I mean, I'm not a full-time performer, but I certainly relied on that as supplemental income. Mm-hmm. And when your gigs are dried up and you're wondering how you're going to pay the bills, and you before obviously the government stepped in to provide some help for those of us who are self-employed and gig workers. You're just wondering how you're going to make ends meet.
Totally.
But when you look at it societally, it's like, well, okay, yeah, everybody has a role to play, but I think sometimes musicians, entertainers get overlooked because we're extra stuff. That's not really important until you get stuck at home. And what did people turn to keep themselves sane? They're watching Netflix. They're
watching entertainment.
You're watching entertainment, exactly.
Right.
And imagine watching a movie. Well, first of all, you couldn't watch a movie with actors. And try to imagine watching a movie without music. What are you going to do? So I think that hopefully more people have become aware of the importance of music in terms of our society and how it impacts so many other things. But also like you were saying, Richard, with the inner city stuff, music is a way to teach skills that transcend just the production of music.
There's no question. Just think about playing in an ensemble, right? Being a musician in an ensemble environment. So let's look at an orchestra as an example, right? Which, I've really over the years really come to appreciate just how difficult it is to be a string musician, right? I mean, it's hard enough being a wind musician, right? But, so here you have a group of people that, first of all, you have to interpret, you have to read a foreign language, right? Which is the notation on the page. You have to then interpret body language, because the one individual who doesn't make a sound is the conductor. Mm-hmm. So you have to interpret how the conductor is interpreting the music through the body language. You, of course, have to play in tune, right? Which requires your hearing skills, but you have to play in tune with the people on your stand in your
100
section,
other people,
and then the other 100 other people. Mm-hmm. And all of this is going on, and you're not even thinking about it. It's actually my understanding from the research is the only human endeavor that activates just about every part of the brain at the same time. Everything is lighting up. And if you're the other thing is that a lot of music is pattern recognition, right? Which is why one of the reasons why we practice all of these etudes is because we're developing that muscle memory and brain memory of all of these different patterns, so that when we see it in the notation, you just take one look at it and you know what it is.
Right.
And then you need to be the artist, right? And the artist is the interpretive part, right? So it's not just dots on the page, but it's what is it? How do you feel? And that's what makes live music so special,
right?
Because live music is about people interpreting, and everything is based on how they're feeling at that moment. So you never really hear, even the same piece is going to sound a bit different, even if you're doing it twice in a row, because you're feeling different.
Right.
And one of the things that we wanted, just as an aside, is part of the thing with a product like Liprenew is that we wanted people not to think about their chops while they're playing, right? So the whole concept is, you're a musician, just make the music and don't worry about your endurance. Just do this and just get on with it. Make music.
Yeah.
And so that, when you start combining all of these different things together, it's really an extraordinary human endeavor.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
I want to inject something in there. A story, when I was taking some lessons, Bud Herseth, Adolf Herseth was recording on the CD for the Maynard tribute. He says to me, like, for example, I wanted to further what Richard was saying about how a different conductor or the same piece, when you hear it live, you're never going to hear it the same way. He would say the opening to Mahler 5. If people are familiar with that, they call it Mahler's Trumpet Concerto, because it's the first trumpet, they start it. And a lot of people, da-da-da-da, 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 and they do it. But Bud Herseth says, now close your eyes and imagine that you're at a funeral with the rain coming down, and you got a raincoat on, and you're one of the pallbearers carrying a casket. Now play it, and you'll play it different. Yeah. And he was right. I recorded myself, practicing this excerpt.
It was one of the things you taught me. It was one of the things, Kenny, you taught me in my lesson.
Oh,
and just how that's right. Yeah. That's the music. That's where the juice is.
The mind is the real player.
Well, I actually did a master class a few months ago for the School of Music at a local university, and it's on mindfulness for musicians. And because the mind, you got your brain, which is the mechanical side. That's the organ, right? Then you have your mind, which is your brain in action. That's the processes are going on, the thoughts, the beliefs, the emotions, and things like that. And our mind tends to get in the way of our music.
Right.
Because we start thinking too much.
Right, that's right.
We start worrying too much.
That's right.
And the source of your sound, I mean, it's up here, but it's here. So it's your heart, it's your spirit, it's your,
It's your oral concept of sound.
Right. So it's like you feel it, you translate that into the thoughts and the mechanics, and then you let that come out. And anything that's blocking you is blocking that sound. Because what I think about music is like it's an art. And any art, I taught this to my martial arts students. Any art, the fundamental thing about any art is the artist is trying to take an idea, an attention, or an emotion, and they're trying to take what's inside of them and express it in a way
that
others see or feel, and that you can replicate it.
You're communicating to the audience.
Exactly. And so if you've got a blockage, that's where your problems come in. So yeah, and you change the emotion, you change the intent, and you'll change the result. So yeah,
I'll tell you, Jose, that's why I get to hang with a bunch of incredible people because they're musicians. I get to hang.
But we get to hang with you too.
Well, but playing an instrument is not a natural thing. Vibrating your lips and buzzing into a metal tube is not natural.
Right. And putting a metal mouthpiece on your lips.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And I get to chill with a guy like Walter White. I mean, how lucky is that? I get to send a Facebook message periodically to Eric Miyashiro in Japan. Right. I mean, holy come on, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I get to meet Arturo Sandoval at a conference and he knows my name. It's like, really?
Yeah.
So, lucky me. That's, that's what I get to, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because there's certainly a fraternity that exists amongst musicians. I saw this in the martial arts world, I see it in the music world. When you have people who have attained even a modicum level of skill, you don't have to be the best in the world, but if you've done a little bit of work, you appreciate the amount of work that goes into the process.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And when you meet a fellow musician and as a trumpet player, you meet a fellow trumpet player, and it's like, okay, we immediately have a bond because. If you're still playing, or if you've played for any level of time, it's basically you've been through the trenches, and you know what it's like, and so you start to develop your relationship based on something that has become or is still a critical part of your life. And Kenny, I actually wanted to talk with you about this because, obviously, like when we're at trumpet events, we're geeking out, because it's like everybody's,
it's like, oh my God, look at all these trumpets.
Yeah.
I forgot my earplug.
Yes. How many double high C's can you hear?
Oh, well, I'm going to have a little sign at the table with a double high C written, like a musical staff double high C written and a red circle with a cross through it. No double high C's at my table.
But besides the fact that, we have all of these people and we have the trumpet world that we're all part of. But, as you were saying, you played with Maynard. I have noticed, because I'm fortunate enough to have the count amongst some of my friends, a lot of the alumni from that band. And it seems to me that there is a really unique brotherhood that exists with people that played with Maynard. I mean, like, you, Walter, Pat, Wayne, Roger,
everybody,
all these guys. It's like, well, first of all, it's like I've never heard anybody that played with the boss that had anything really negative to say. It was always like,
absolutely.
It was a greatest time of my life, but there just seems to be that connection because like when you see you guys in a room, it's like the MF alumni just kind of coalesce. So
it's true. That's very true. Well, the thing is with Maynard knew how to bring people together. He really knew, and he had this. Everything was in his head, and I remember. I'll tell you a little story. There was a concert Maynard was going to do, and before a concert, and his chops used to get torn up, really bad, and in his young days, he used to take a razor blade and he told me the story himself. I heard the stories numerous times on the bus, but I love hearing it from him. He'd come out and sit next. What's your story, to me or something? But we'd be telling stories, on the bus. And he said that when he was young, he couldn't play until the callus fell off his lip. Okay. So he would take a razor blade and just shave it off his lip.
Oh, man.
But one of the times, my point is, Maynard, Ed Sargent, our tour manager, we call him Big Daddy. Right. Because he always took care of everybody. Took me in the back room and peeled back Maynard's lip like this, and it looked like hamburger. And Maynard's going, he goes, oh, it'll be good. It'll be great. He never let anything bother him. You know, that's why that's why I was saying, I'm not going to quit playing trumpet.
Yeah.
I got that from him.
Yeah. Would you say that's like the biggest lesson you learned from him, or was there anything else?
Don't quit, just go for it. I mean, even if you had a bad night, as long as you gave it your all, he loved you.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I trust me, man, I saw his band play particularly. I first got turned on to Maynard in the mid 70s, and like from the mid 70s up through the mid 80s, I saw the band, usually 2-3 times a year, and that was the one thing. And besides the fact it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that sound is coming out of a trumpet.
Right.
But it was just
my first night on the band was like that. I was like, he brings me up to the microphone because I used to do this piccolo trumpet solo in the medley. That was a guitar solo in Pagliacci.
Right.
And Patrick wrote it out for me, and I did on the piccolo. I remember I was in the rehearsal. We were doing dress rehearsals, before we had to play that night. I go, and they go, I said, do you think he really wants to hear this? And they go, oh, he'll love it. It'll be great. Just play it. Don't say anything. Just play it. So I played it, and then he stopped the band, and I was like getting nervous, and he goes, what is that? Sounds great. See, what I like about Maynard is he was like, everybody has always had these music directors that they dreaded,
right?
In life, in a Broadway show or in high school or anywhere, they always meet somebody that makes them scared to play,
right?
And that it creates nervousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maynard was the opposite.
Yeah.
He made it so fun that you wanted to do it, and he was smart. We didn't make that much money, but it was an education.
Yeah. That's why.
And if I could do it again, if I could still be out there, I would.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's kind of like the antithesis of Buddy Rich,
Oh, total opposite.
Yeah, people in Buddy's band were afraid to screw up.
I'm the only one that matters here. You guys don't mean anything. Maynard was like, he just loved everybody. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And that came through. It came through in his performance. It came through in the performances of the people in the band. It was just, you could just look up there, and it's like, going back to what you were talking about earlier, Richard. I mean, it's that everybody is completely engaged in this process. They're mentally, they're physically, they're emotionally, spiritually, just all working as a singular unit. And it's more than just like when, sure, you can get a bunch of really good guys together and they can lock in time-wise and groove-wise, but there was something about that band that was just so unique and so special. And it stayed consistent. So even like going from the bands in the 70s, like when Stan Mark and Dennis Node, Ron Tooley, and those guys were in the band, Joe Mazzello, to the later bands, even I caught them on the last tour that they did, which Pat was on, Seraphin.
Oh yeah, Seraphin was right after me.
Yeah, and still that band is the same thing.
That's right.
It was just everybody was just on stage, and it was a thing. It wasn't a band. It was a thing.
And Maynard used to travel on the bus with us. I mean, it was just, it just, I miss those days. It was the most fun I had on any band.
Yeah,
it was always fun.
Yeah, and you've had kind of a really interesting spread of what you've done, because you some people say, oh yeah, that's Kenny, he used to play with Maynard, but then there's also Kenny, the orchestral player, and you've been able to, like you said, you've worked with, you've done some lessons with Maurice Andre, with Bud Herseth and things like that. So I mean, how do you see yourself? I mean, do you want to sway more towards the jazz commercial side? Do you enjoy playing the legit a little bit more, or are you just happy to play trumpet?
Well, you know what? The trumpet, just like Maynard used to say, the trumpet's my favorite toy. And like right now, Let me go get something. I'll show you. Okay.
Okay.
While
he's
going,
go ahead, Kenny.
I'm gonna go get it.
Okay.
Hang on.
Well, let me tell you about Kenny. So he's one of the top piccolo trumpet players in Southeast Michigan. So, he is fantastic with the pick. He's also a repair guy. He also does silver and gold plating. Kenny is, what I really admire about him is that he's good at a bunch of different things. And I think that's, especially now, man, is that ever really important. So he's actually been getting a couple of gigs recently doing weddings where you can social distance. And he's in the choir loft at the church with the organist, and it's organ and piccolo trumpet.
Yeah.
So he's the man. And that's his nickname, by the way. We call him the man.
The man?
Yeah,
man.
I'm the dude.
He's the man.
Because the dude abides.
The dude abides. Kenny is the man, the myth, the legend.
That's right. He is.
Yeah.
There we go.
I see. He's getting his toys out. Yeah. I remember being at ITG in Anaheim.
Yeah.
I was there.
2016. That's when we launched. Yeah.
Yeah. I was there with the Warburton group, and you guys were there, and I just remember Kenny being like right across, our booths were right across from each other, and Kenny and Walter and you were there, and Kenny sitting there with his piccolo trumpet and just playing pick all freaking day long.
Yeah. All right, Kenny, let's go.
Yeah, anytime, Kenny. I think he's getting his collection together. But so while we're still waiting for Kenny to get his toys together, so your involvement with the school board and things like that, how do you see the progress of education in this current phase that we're in this COVID thing?
It's a shit. Because if you can't do face-to-face instruction, that is a compromise, a significant compromise.
Yeah.
From to education.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's got to be pretty much has to be virtual right now. I think that school districts, and it depends. It's all state by state. But if you're in a state where there's still a relatively high number of cases that are happening, and you're going to even a hybrid approach, I think that at some point, it doesn't take much for one or two people to get it, and you're going to be, the district will be shutting down again.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very unusual and difficult situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're in uncharted waters.
Yeah.
all over the place. For education, for the arts, you name it. We're all trying to figure this shit out as it's happening. And
exactly. How do you have a band or orchestra rehearsal, or even more choir, which is how do choirs even do it? Because that's the worst way of spreading the coronavirus, apparently.
Right.
People singing in front of one another. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And that's going to be an interesting challenge. So. But what can we do right now? So Kenny, what you got for me, man?
Okay. Well, I wanted to show you. See, I collect all these trumpets, these Selmer trumpets, because Selmer doesn't make them anymore.
Okay.
And, my first love was Maurice Andre, of course. Everybody loved him when they were a kid, right? And I used to listen to all these Maurice Andre records. In fact, this is what I've been doing lately. I just bought a turntable for pretty cheap, and I've been collecting all these rare Maurice Andre records.
Oh,
that you can't get anymore, And I used to have all these records. Especially this one, which is Trumpet and Organ, When I was a little kid, there was one by Musical Heritage Society. Okay. And of course you lose all those things when you loan them out to people or you get rid of them and you think you're never going to use them. I haven't had a record player for years, and I'm looking around for all these albums and I didn't find any of them. Okay. So I ordered them online, for, $4, like on eBay, you can go on and sometimes they're $7 or sometimes they're $4 or whatever. And I get this I didn't order that album, but I got it in the mail and I'm looking on here and it looks familiar. So I put it on the record player and I go, man, all these little cracks and pops and skips sound familiar too. And then I look on the record jacket, and it's my writing. So I said to this is my writing. It's my check marks next to the things. And this was when I was like a 14-year-old kid. I used to have this. And I bought it from Car City Classics, which is a famous record store. It's not around anymore. And I told the eBay seller that story, and he goes, "Wow, what an incredible story!" And another thing here is I collect all these trumpets. I got tons of them. I need another trumpet like I need another ass, right? But I collect them because this is what Maurice Andre played. So, and what I got, since I'm a repairman, what Maurice Andre used to do is he used to have these trumpets so you could take the fourth valve slide off. Piccolo trumpets, and then put take this is not, obviously doesn't come off, but you could take the whole thing off and then put a first valve slide in here. And then when you hold down the fourth valve, the trumpet plays in a different key. And he loved to do that. And I got some, I contacted a friend of mine named Harry Carter, who's a great repairman, and he had all these parts for me to do that to these horns. So I'm going to practice on one of my junkier ones and cut it off and make this so it's removable, put a brace here, and then make it so it's removable. And then I put a first valve slide in there and see what happens. That's what I'm going to do. And I got this.
Oh, a nice rotary pick.
Yeah, it's a rotary pick, but it's in the key of C. And I bought it from a guy in Australia, and he goes, "It's a lacquer horn," and I get it in the mail. I go, "This doesn't look like lacquer. It's 24 karat gold."
Oh.
So I'm like, okay. And then I bought this one. This is a Selmer. This is the new style Selmer, G, and this is in the key of G. Okay, not A and B flat. So this one is the new style Selmer that the famous trumpet student of Maurice Andre, Guy Tovron from Paris, designed this one. They don't make this anymore. It came in silver. I gold-plated it myself, and I made a video of it, the gold plating process.
Wow, nice.
And see, this fourth valve is removable. Well, give me a minute. I haven't taken it out in a while. See, this fourth valve just comes right out because it's already built like that, and there's a first valve in the case that you can put in there. So when you hold that down, when that first valve's in, it plays in F instead of G. Changes the key. It's really cool. So I'm trying to keep myself busy during all this because. And it's hard to stay motivated sometimes. I feel like, we're all in this together, but this is what I'm doing. And see, like I collect this one. Here's a different Selmer, but it's the same key, B flat A, regular Selmer. But this one, if you can see up close, see it has that little garland on the bell.
Yeah.
That makes it built from the 1959. And this one is newer. It doesn't have the garland on the bell. So I'm I'm having a ball collecting all these, and I'm getting ready to record a new record. a new classical record, piccolo trumpet record. That's why I'm, really getting into the Maurice Andre frame of mind. The Maurice Andre oral concept of sound.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll certainly be looking for that when it comes out, man. That sounds exciting.
Well, and there's some of our endorsers that are going to be on it too. I know a lot of endorsers want to be on it. I'm going to do a thing for 8 trumpets, and we're going to do it remotely where I send them the tracks, the organ tracks or the click. Mm-hmm. They can do it in their, we're going to see how this works.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to shift gears here. At the last part of every episode, what I do is I do a little speed round. I base this off of the old Nagel speed studies. I call this speed studies. So these are going to be questions that are going to go all over the place, and I will toss them back and forth between each of you. Give me your quickest answer, and let's see what happens. Let's start with Richard. Richard, who's the biggest influence in your life that is not a trumpet player?
Wow. I would say it's my wife.
Ah.
No, it's true. True.
Yeah.
She's a musician. She's a music teacher, and she's a mom, and so she's taught me. She's probably been the greatest influence in my life other than my parents.
Okay. Kenny, what's your favorite book?
My favorite book is God, that's a hard one. Can it be any kind of book?
Any kind of book.
My favorite book is Correct and Natural Wind. It's by Maurice Grupp, and I can't think of the name of it. It's called Correct and Natural. You know what I'm talking about, Richard, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You'll tell me what the name of it is. I can think of the author.
Correct. Give me a sec.
Correct and Natural Passing Gas.
No. This is a very good book.
Correct and Natural
Wind instrument. Correct and Natural Wind Instrument Playing. I think that's what it's called.
In the Name of Wind Instrument Playing by
yes.
M. Grupp.
Yes, okay. By Maurice Grupp. It's right. In the Name of Wind Instrument Playing. It's a very rare book. It's very hard to get a hold of.
Okay, very good. Richard, back over to you. What's the worst movie you've ever seen?
That you didn't walk out of?
Oh my goodness. Probably something like Airplane.
Oh, come on. It's a great movie.
Oh man, I don't know. That's not my humor. It's
okay. And Kenny, if you weren't a trumpet player / entrepreneur / whatever it else is you do, what would you want to do with your life?
I like travel. I might want to be some kind of, there's a lot of things I like. I really like boating. I'd like to be able to, be a ship captain.
Okay, cool. Richard, what's your favorite drink?
My favorite drink is probably a good scotch.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Oh, that's my favorite drink too. A really good single malt.
Oh, okay. So what's your go-to?
My go-to?
What's your go-to single malt?
My go-to single malt is Glenfiddich.
Which year?
Well, I can't afford the old stuff. But once at Disney World, we were on tour with the Temptations, and we went to this bar at Disney World in Epcot. After hours, they let us in.
Yeah.
And they had stuff that was like, $2,000 a shot, $1,500 a shot, and it was like from, over like 200 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I'm going,
how
really?
much was a whiff of it? Just smelling it must
he
have
would
been
just
50
give us,
bucks.
he was just giving us a little tiny taste of it.
Yeah. That's cool.
But it didn't really taste better.
Yeah. Richard, how about you? What's your go-to?
I like Glenmorangie. And what I like, they have some that have their where the product is aged in sherry cask,
right? Like the Soleras and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really I like those.
Yeah, those are good. I used to be.
Although I must tell you, Jose, I've been last few years more into the herb imbibing rather than in the liquid.
Okay, all right. Well, that is legal where you're at. So
it is perfectly legal in the state of Michigan. Yes.
Yes.
And referring to that NTC conference in Denver, it was legal there at the time.
It was.
And if I remember correctly, every night after the NTC,
you don't remember correctly.
You don't remember anything.
What?
Yes, that was.
We loaded up.
That was actually my first experience with edibles. Which
there?
was there. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. And we got a bag of snickerdoodles. And I got back to the hotel room.
They taste good, don't they?
I was rooming with Jerry Lopez.
Oh, you don't want to eat those things.
And I had one, and it's like, okay. It tasted pretty good. Had another one. And I'm like, I don't feel anything. And had another one. I think I had about 5 or 6 of them. And they were small cookies, So, and I could sit down and eat a bag of cookies anytime. But
the whole thing?
I ate about the whole thing, man. And I was fine.
You were gone for 24 hours.
And then like about, I started maybe like 10 o'clock or something. And then like 2 o'clock, I was just like, oh,
I can't move.
Boom! I was out. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm waiting for the day that it does become legal here in Pennsylvania.
It will.
Yeah. So we'll see. So let's move on. So for those of you at home, if it's not legal, don't do drugs. If it's legal, party on, Garth.
Go ahead, do drugs.
All right, let's start. Let's see, Kenny, you can have you're going to have a dinner party, White Castles, and you're going to have a dinner party, and you're going to be able to invite any 3 living people to your party. Who would you want to invite? Any 3 living people.
Richard.
Thank you.
Walter. And Betty.
Yeah, man.
I'd like, if I could invite more, I'd like to invite you.
Oh, well, I would show up for that. I would show up for that. Hang out in the RV.
Because they're my peeps. Richard, Walter, and Betty. We're all partners.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's
how
great.
I would have over.
That's true.
That's great. Okay, Richard, you're going to have a party, but you can only invite 3 dead people. So 3 people from history. Who would you want to have at your party?
Wow. Oh, that's a good one.
I think Abraham Lincoln would be one. I think that George Washington would be one. So there's a bit of a theme here.
Mm-hmm.
And probably Moses.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to make Trump jealous. Because he's better than Abraham Lincoln. Or
I know.
Yeah.
But I just kind of like to really get into their heads and sort of
Yeah. Yeah. So, Kenny, lacquer, plated, or raw?
I have all of them, and each one of them is different. Lacquer for some things. If it's lightweight, plating is good also because people think, oh, it's brighter with the silver plating. That's not true. And it's brighter when it's raw brass.
Mm-hmm.
It depends. I like gold plating.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
He likes the bling.
It's not the bling.
I like the bling.
There's actually science behind it. See, gold, the reason it sounds better, and it usually tunes up a horn too, or a mouthpiece, is because gold heats up quicker,
right?
Retains heat longer and more evenly. So there is actually science behind it. Yes.
Cool. All right, Richard, what's your favorite quote?
Life is a team sport.
Get that on your T-shirt. Kenny, what's your greatest fear?
Well, I've always been taught not to fear anything. I try to be pretty fearless, but my greatest fear is the world ending, I think. That's my greatest fear.
Yeah. Okay. Richard, you could have any superpower, but only one. What would it be?
Oh, I'd say reading minds.
That's a good one.
Okay. Kenny, this is going to be a two-part question for you.
Okay.
Okay. First part is, what aspect of trumpet playing do you think is the most overrated?
The most overrated aspect of trumpet playing? High note playing.
Okay. What do you think the most underrated aspect of trumpet playing is?
Good tone in the low register.
Okay.
That's my opinion, because I remember my dad was a trumpet player, and when he first heard Maurice Andre, he was impressed with his low register, how beautiful it was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's the most underrated, a beautiful tone in the low register.
Yeah. Very good. So, Richard, you could go back in time to visit your younger self and give yourself one piece of advice. What would it be?
It would be not to take myself so seriously, and that it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. Kenny, how about you?
For me, if I could go back in time, I would teach myself the same thing, just not to be so serious, and just go with it. Just go with the flow. Everything's going to be okay. I totally agree with that.
Okay. And again, this one for each of you, I ask the same thing. Start with Richard. Richard, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want it to be that I was a person who made the world around me better. That my little piece of earth was better for me having been there.
Okay. Kenny, how about you?
I want people to remember me after I'm gone as a person that cares about people.
All right. Well, that's awesome. And, I can say that from speaking personally, that you both are doing well on establishing those legacies, because Richard, all of your work, both in the nonprofit sector and with the school board, and what you're doing with Robinson's Remedies, you're making the world a little bit better place for a lot of people. And Kenny, you have always shown that you've got a huge heart, and you truly do care about people. And I appreciate your friendship, and appreciate everything you're doing for all of us out there.
Bro. Back at you.
Kenny's one of the one of the most dear people in my life. And I'm really, grateful that he's a part of it.
Yeah. Well, you got to get out and meet some new people, apparently, Richard. So before we wrap up, if people want to find out more about Robinson's Remedies, where do they need to go?
RobinsonsRemedies.com.
RobinsonsRemedies.com.
And you know what? Also, tell if our endorsers are watching this, tell them, hey, don't be a stranger. Reach out to me. If I can help you, I will. If you can help me, help me. Have
Facebook too, Jose, is another good spot.
Yeah.
We do a lot on that.
Okay. I try to answer everything. I try to answer. Don't be shy to get a hold of me, even if you don't know me. It's fine. If you're a fan or if you've never heard of it, get a hold of me. Be glad to talk because I have the time.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. And the product, you guys are still shipping and.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking personally, I love all the Robinson's Remedies products, and I can't personally say enough good things about the product. So I pass it on to every gig I'm on. I'm giving it out to the guys, and everybody who's tried it loved it. So if you haven't tried it, I certainly suggest that you do it. If you're a brass player, you certainly need to do it, and even just people in your family who have problems with cold sores or things like that. Yeah, jump on this stuff. It's magic. It's gold. So that's about it for us.
One last thing, Jose, if I can.
Yes.
Don't forget. Wear a mask.
My mask is over here.
Right.
Somewhere.
Because the virus is not political. Please be smart. We want everybody to be safe. The best way of getting through this together is if everybody wears a mask when they're outside. Social distance or not, put on a mask, please, and we will get through this. And you know what? Keep the faith.
We'll do it together.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. We got to work as a team.
That's right.
That's right.
All right. So thank you for joining us today for this hang. And Kenny, Richard, thanks. And I look forward to partying in that RV next time we get together.
Let's hopefully soon.
Big hugs to everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
Jose, it's great to see you. You look terrific, and thanks so much for the invite.
Oh, thank you. So for those of you joining us, thanks again. And as always, peace and slide grease. We're out. Hey, thank you so much for hanging with us today. This podcast is all about creating connection through our mutual love for the trumpet life. I hope that you learned a few things about today's guest and had some laughs along the way. Don't forget to give us a review. We love those 5-star ratings. And please share this podcast with your friends. We want to see our hang grow for show. Have a suggestion for a future topic or a guest? Hit me up at thetrumpetgurus@gmail.com. Our opening theme was written and performed by Lexi Signor, and all other music comes courtesy of The Greatest Funeral Ever. So in the words of W.C. Handy, life is like a trumpet. If you don't put anything into it, you don't get anything out. So go out there and let your trumpet sound. And I'll see you at the next hang.